Welcome to the podcast. I'm Andy Vaughter. Today's guest is probably one of the most well-known people in the furniture industry. He's the president of a company called My Resource Library, or MRL, and his name is Jeff Carlson. Jeff is a big personality and a wonderful guy, and today we're going to talk about the origins of My Resource Library and how this idea of creating an online database for the furniture industry originated and how it came to fruition. He's going to talk about other things about his company, how unique it is that they are a remote-based company, and some of the challenges and benefits that come with that. And you're really going to love some of the things that Jeff has to talk about. His passion for making things easier and simpler for the people in this industry clearly shines. And of course, that resonated with us here at Making Privacy Simple. Let's jump on in. Well, Jeff, thanks for being here. Jeff Carlson, My Resource Library, sitting down with me to talk about the furniture industry and technology and where we're going with everything. And so I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us, have a conversation.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming down and meeting me. That's fantastic.
Absolutely. So let's start with a little bit about your background. It seems like everybody in this industry knows you, so I'm assuming there's got to be a background in there about, how it all started. So give us a little bit of background, a couple minutes.
Okay. Well, trying to keep it to a couple minutes
Sure.
is hard,
Yeah.
but actually I've been in the industry all my life. My grandfather started a rep group in 1952. My father now runs that rep group. My brother is an independent rep. I have an aunt that works for a furniture dealership in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I have an uncle that works for a different furniture dealership in Cincinnati, Ohio. I met my wife on a cold call at a design firm in Cleveland, Ohio, and she now owns her own independent rep group out of Phoenix, Arizona. I was working for the family rep group, and then I went to work for Steelcase. I worked for KI, and then I worked for a small manufacturer out of Seattle, Washington as a national sales director when I started My Resource Library. How's that for a little bit of a background?
That was pretty quick. Yeah.
I try to go fast.
All right. So definitely you've got roots in this that go way back.
Yes.
And also, if you worked at a rep firm, you got family members in a rep firm, you understand probably the hardest job of all of this too, which
Yes.
is, that middle person that has to make all those connections.
Well, I think it's what gives My Resource Library an edge, and that is that it's not a technology company that runs My Resource Library. It's somebody that's from the industry, that's actually worked at rep groups, manufacturers. It's seen every side of the industry.
That makes a lot of sense.
And we've added a lot of tools because of the needs of the dealers, the designers, and the reps.
Sure. So My Resource Library, it's exactly what that sounds like, right? It's a virtual library for manufacturers of furniture or architectural products it's a central locating. I'm trying to give your pitch through my version of it, right? But
Yep.
it's an online library, right? It's an online library
Yes.
for this industry.
Yep.
Tell us how that idea came about.
So interestingly enough, I was traveling in Omaha, Nebraska, and I was at a design firm, and I at that time was traveling with a suitcase full of binders. And I was there, and I met with the design firm, and I offered them a binder. They said they didn't keep binders, so I got really excited thinking the time of traveling with a suitcase full of binders was over. Then they showed me that they were using an Excel spreadsheet. And I said, there's no way that'll work. And basically, I think I really got thrown out of the design firm because I refused to believe that they could function that way. On my flight back, I sketched up My Resource Library, an idea that I had that's very visual. So it does show all the manufacturers' binders and so forth. Then I'm not a programmer, so I didn't really know what to do. So I actually was at a swim meet for my oldest daughter. And in Arizona at a swim meet, you're outside 8 hours. Child swims for less than 2 minutes. It's a great experience. I got to talking to another parent, and I asked him what he did. And he said he's a program engineer for Intel. His name is Mike Goodman. He's my business partner now. But at the time, I asked him, showed him my sketches, and said, how much would this cost? He said half, and I thought $500,000, and he said, no, just give me half the company and I'll do it for free. And that's literally how My Resource Library got started. So,
wow.
And we've been growing ever since. That was 8 years ago.
Yep. So 8 years ago, you guys designed the platform, or he designed the platform. You designed it, and he made the platform.
Yes.
And it seems like now when you think about it, was only 2011. When you think about it now,
Yes.
it's like this, you guys have been around forever because of how quickly the industry, from my perspective, right?
Yes.
How quickly the industry has adopted what you guys do.
Yep.
And yet I doubt it worked out that way. Well, like, tell us about the early days of that, convincing design firms or dealers
Yep.
or manufacturers to get involved.
So the number one challenge we had was in order to get users, I had to have manufacturers. In order to get manufacturers, I had to have users. So we had to overcome that pretty quick. So we made some alliances with Indio buying groups, workplace furnishings, other ones at the time, and leveraged our services. But really the struggle, and if I kind of digress a little bit, what our real challenge was is how to get the word out to everybody.
Sure.
And how do we get more coming in so that we can hire more people to continually grow the business? And I think we've done a fantastic job of that.
I agree.
People do know who we are. We do service the furniture was where we started, was contract furniture. Now we're doing hospitality, textiles, lighting, and also the accessories and as far as decor. And as you guys do at MPS, sound masking and so forth. We put that all into the library. It's all searchable so that people can find products quicker.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say we were one of the first companies, but we were probably one of the first of our industry.
You were.
To get involved.
Yes.
I saw what you guys were doing, and it just made a lot of sense. Instead of printing hundreds of binders and having to try and manage where they are and what's in them nationwide, it was like, we can just upload it and then point people there. Oh, that's a novel idea. So
yeah, it was kind of an interesting thing. Back when when my father was a rep, he used to travel with like 10 milk crates in the back of his car filled with brochures, and he would go into a firm and literally update them for like 2 hours.
yeah,
And nobody does that anymore.
Yep.
So what's happening is your reps are all taking in fresh binders. They're taking the old one off, putting the new one on, and with the pretense that they're going to update that. Now some may, but most of them are going to throw that away. Well, they don't realize that's like $100 and some worth of an investment to a manufacturer every time they do that. There's costs associated. So as the industry is kind of progressed, and by the way, to get to where we are, several things did have to happen. I kind of going to jump back just for a second, but two things had to happen. Panel systems had to become the secondary of a project instead of the primary, which did happen in around the 2011 age. We went to the open desk plan. Ancillary products had to become the primary, because every aligned dealer knows all about their panel systems, but what they don't know is the ancillary products. And that's where my resource library really comes in as a benefit. It helps them find the products that they are looking for.
So a Hayworth dealer knows every in and out of the Hayworth product that they're selling, but when they need to hit their margin goals or hit their profit goals by adding ancillary items to that space,
Yes.
it's a sea of information that you couldn't go to everybody's website and get that information easily. So that
Typically what they do is
guys.
Google it.
Yeah.
And when you're Googling it, you're bringing in companies that are from China or from overseas. Or literally, if I built a chair in my garage, I could put it on and I could be popping up in your search results.
Sure.
You don't necessarily want to buy a chair that I'll build in my garage.
Or you may not sell to them. You never know.
You never know.
That might be your competition or something.
Yeah, so we offer that vetted resource, which I think is what is needed in the industry.
Which you're the only one of your kind. So that creates an interesting question about who your competition is.
So originally, when we were just the library, our competition was companies like Spec Simple or Designer Pages. They were probably the closest to us.
Okay.
We store all of the information in the binders. So we're not just a link back to a manufacturer. We have all of your images. We have all of your products. We have everything inside of my resource library. So we quickly outgrew our competitors. In fact, one of them actually was using images from my resource library as they were trying to show binders in their platform, which was a really nice compliment to me. But we quickly outgrew that, and they are focusing now more on the architectural products, like plumbing and so forth, where we're just not there yet.
Sure.
We want to build consistent libraries for all platforms before we just add everybody.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Okay. So you guys have still a relatively new company, 8 years old. you formed, for the most part, a virtual company.
Yes.
I've interacted with several people from your company, and they're not all in the same office as you necessarily.
Yep.
So tell us kind of how that's worked out. What are some of the ways that that's worked for you, and
Yep.
maybe what are some of the challenges that come along with that?
It's interesting. Having remote employees is fantastic on one hand, in the fact that I have people that are on the East Coast, because the 3-hour time difference between Arizona and the East Coast is pretty hard to deal with when my customers are back there. So I have people that work for me that are back there so that they can handle those early morning calls.
Sure.
Then I have people that live in Arizona, and so all of our employees are remote. They all live or work where they live. So the advantages are that. The disadvantages, because there are disadvantages, is there are times when you just wonder, what are you actually getting out of those employees? Are they actually working 40 hours a week? So you have to have a lot of trust.
Sure.
Now, I trust all of my employees 95% of the time, but there's always that 5% of time where I sit there and just start scratching my head saying, I don't get it. But at the same time, my team is by far one of the best teams that I've ever worked with in my entire life.
And I would imagine the best way you handle that is, are they getting the work done in a
Yes.
timely manner? I mean,
Yeah.
did they go get their hair done at 2:00? I don't know, but they needed that done by Friday and it was done. So
Well, the benefit of is I don't care that they go get their hair done at 2:00
Get
or
it
they
done. Yeah.
have to take a child to a doctor, they have to do whatever dentist appointment. I really don't care. As long as they're getting the work done,
yep.
they could do it whenever they want. So we have several employees that actually work up until like midnight, but then during the day they're running errands and they're doing other things because they have kids. I'm fine with that. And we have other employees, so I've got kind of different sets. I have a millennial group and I have the older group. And the older group is really, really good. You can't email them after like 7:00, otherwise they will respond. The younger group sometimes takes a day to get back to you. So it's a different breed, but it definitely is working.
But as a mix, it's working definitely.
Yes.
So one of the key things I would imagine you need to do is stay on top of industry trends.
Yes.
You travel a lot. You get to interact with every facet of this industry. And so what are some of the ways that you try and stay on top of some of the trends, or maybe where, you mentioned the office plan changed over the course of the last 10 years,
Yep.
and there's other new trends happening. How do you stay on top of all those?
I read a lot. Well, there's a couple things. One is I do read a lot of articles. I do read a lot of books. There's a group that's here actually at the hotel, the Solomon Coyle Group. They do the financial benchmarking for all the aligned manufacturers, dealers. They are nothing but research. They do a lot of research, and I listen to what they have to say. And so we're trying to get that feedback from people that are in the know so that we can try and kind of spotlight our next course of action.
Sure. And so you started being a library. That was where it started.
Yes.
But you mentioned that you've kind of expanded past your competitors in that regard. What are some of the ways MRL is doing that?
Well, we have a project binder tool that allows you to communicate with your customers so you can build projects, send it a link to a client, and work with them through those links. We also have the integration with CET Designer that's coming out in December, the integration with Project Specs. So we're taking marketing materials and actually linking them to specification tools. So we're trying to streamline the process. Then the other thing is we went into inspiration and ideation. So instead of just going into a binder, manufacturers have really cool installation shots. They can provide us all of those. We'll show those as kind of like a Pinterest board, but then it's linked right back to the product versus being linked to wrong websites and so
Some
forth
random
on
website
Pinterest.
that ripped off an image of somebody.
Yes.
Exactly. It takes you right to the manufacturer.
Yes.
And you can pull the specs from there.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
So that's what I mean by we've kind of morphed beyond that.
Sure.
And the traffic has just been fantastic. Our growth has just been great in those arenas.
So you're interacting with all these different types of industries, or same industry, all these different types of groups of people. You
Yes.
got your manufacturer, you have the manufacturer rep who's an independent company.
Yep.
You've got the dealer, you have the design firm, and then you even mentioned before we started the design students as well that
Yes.
you want to get in there. And I'm sure there's other industry or other groups that touch My Resource Library a little bit.
Yep.
How do you manage all those different relationships? Because they're very
We sponsor
different.
a lot of bars. No,
Just sponsor a lot of bars.
no, honestly, it's hard. When I travel to a market, we want to meet with dealers that are our customers. We want to meet with new potential dealers. We want to meet with design firms. And it's a different presentation when you're dealing with design firms to the dealers.
Sure.
They use it differently. Then we started the interior design program, which Auburn University was the first school to sign up with us. They've added us to the curriculum. So now we're presenting to students and teaching them how to use My Resource Library. They're turning in assignments using our project binder tool.
Wow.
So it's been really powerful, but it's, again, a different aspect of our industry. And somebody once told me, I forget who it was when I started the company, that the best way to build a company is to provide a net underneath the company so that instead of just, let's say, dealers were to go away or design firms were to go away, that my net would still be functional because just one thing would be gone.
Sure.
So we did. We put together a pro rep program. It's free of charge for reps. We put together a program for designers that are at companies, so facilities designers, interior design students, manufacturers, and then, of course, all sorts of dealers that are out there.
Sure.
So, and then we're moving into hospitality industry, and we're moving into a whole bunch of other places. So juggling all of those relationships is hard, but it's also really easy with social media. So everything that comes to us, press releases, podcasts like this one, everything we promote through our social media as well, and it helps us stay connected.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And boy, that's just insane to think about how quickly that could grow into. I mean, because a hospitality dealer is different than a contract furniture dealer, or
Yes.
the manufacturers are all different, and
Yes.
that's continue. It sounds like it's just going to continue to grow.
Well, we get a lot of requests from different manufacturers wanting to be a part of our library. I can't put
A little bit outside
manufacturers-
of
Yes.
a little bit outside of.
So I have to vet them.
Sure.
And so I can't just bring in a manufacturer. So we have to silo them in a way that's not offensive to them. Because hospitality manufacturers are not traditional contract. They don't hold up to the same standards. But yet hospitality is the new big trend. So the dealers and the designers want access to hospitality. So we created a separate library for them.
Sure.
We'll do the same thing for residential eventually, and we'll kind of move through all of that.
Smart.
So
Smart. I liked what you said about that the idea of the net across all that, and,
Yep.
it's a smart strategy moving forward. Because I mean, even though when you think about your business, you guys started something that had never been done.
Mm-hmm.
You really don't have a good competitor when it comes to furniture, because you replaced everybody's library, or you transformed everybody's library.
yes,
If I were to start a company right now, I would not choose a resource library for furniture. You're 8 years ahead of everybody else,
yes,
and so you've got a really good start there. And yet, the fact that you're innovating about how do you expand into other areas that touch what you do, that keep broadening your perspective and your influence in the industry, I think is really, really smart. We were talking at lunch. It's a lot like what we're trying to do as a company. And,
yep,
for years we sold one product and one solution that solved basically one problem. And now we're trying to continually branch out and find new solutions that people start to think about the word acoustics, or they start to think about the word privacy or even noise. And we want them to start thinking about our company
yes,
instead of just this sound masking or white
Yep.
noise. So that's our goal, is to, the broader we can make our message, the more people come to us higher up in the conversation. And I'm sure that's similar to what you guys are doing. We want to be in,
Yep.
you want to be in the conversation all the way from a contract furniture dealer to, like you said, even eventually residential designers and things like that.
yeah. I mean, that's where we both have to go.
Yeah.
You both have to grow. The nice thing I think about your guys' company, about MPS, first off, love the new name.
Thanks.
We were talking about that at lunch
Yep,
as well. I'm going to now interview you a little
Okay,
bit.
fair enough.
But I love the fact that your product is progressing. And it's not progressing where you didn't add a chair,
Sure.
okay?
Yeah.
Because you could. I mean, anybody can add a chair, right?
Sure.
But you didn't go that direction. You're staying in your realm. You're just broadening the horizon of that realm. So
Yes.
you're adding screens. What other products are you guys moving towards?
That's a great question. We originally started just with an acoustical fabric, so we were doing like wall treatments,
Yeah.
and then we transitioned to hanging screens that create visual breaks between this wide open office space, but they're also acoustical.
Yeah.
And then desk screens. So that's been our dipping our toe into the furniture industry directly. Is
Yeah.
now we actually have things that bolt onto desks and create a privacy screen or a modesty screen.
Yeah.
That's been quite the learning experience because we don't make the desk.
Yeah.
So think about every desk you've ever seen, and we're trying to figure out how do we design hardware that will fit on all that stuff and look good. And a Steelcase dealer or Herman Miller dealer or Hayward dealer will see the value in what we have there.
Yeah.
And then baffles, mobile screens. The other big thing about us is looking at different industries. So we've been corporate mostly.
Yeah.
And now we're saying, what schools could, I mean, everybody you talk to, like at a barbecue, they're like, oh man, our school is so bad. Do you guys sell schools? And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, no, we need to. And, healthcare we're not into as strong as we should be. Hospitality, all those different things are areas that we've not traditionally even been able to influence. And so that's kind of how we're looking at it. And then lastly, we talked about this at lunch too. We're trying to, as you can tell by doing podcasts and videos and things like that, we're trying to become much more of a media company along with a solution provider.
Yeah.
We feel like our ability to get our message out about what we can do for everybody, designers, end users, dealers, everybody in the process has a pain.
Yeah.
And if we can help communicate how we solve their pain, we can help out customers every step of the way. And that's kind of our goal.
And what we talked about at lunch is the way that you're doing that through your media, I think is fantastic. I'm really excited because it's following along with what we're trying to do as well. And so it's really interesting to know that we're on the same path and yet had no conversation about
we sit
being
down.
on the
We sit
same
down.
path.
And we've seen each other at shows and we've hung
Yeah.
out together. But we sat down for lunch, and all of a sudden it's like, boy, we think about
Yes.
what we're doing as an industry very similarly.
Yes.
And I don't want to let the secret out too much, right? But
Yeah.
I also don't care because it's like I'll let other people have to figure it out for themselves, right? So, but we feel very strongly about the ability to communicate who we are and what we do through video and audio.
Yep.
Is the next wave of, we'll say, marketing, right? Sales and marketing.
Without question.
It's more fun too
Yeah.
than
it is.
than forgetting what airport I'm in this week.
I don't even know where I'm at right now, so that's okay.
Thankfully, you're in Dallas. It made our trip easier.
Yeah, it made
to
your
come
trip
down.
easier. I get to go home maybe tonight, I think. So.
There you go. Hopefully the weather will hold.
Yeah, no kidding.
So if you had a magic wand and could just fix anything in the industry without hurting anybody's feelings, by the way, what would it be? What would you fix if you could fix something?
So this industry actually, and I love this industry. I absolutely love this industry. But what really kills me about this industry is the amount of people that make money because of the complexities that they're creating in this industry. So I would actually, and that's what my resource library's whole mission is to remove complexities in a very complex industry.
Yeah.
So that's why we're tying specification tools to marketing materials. There's no reason why one company should only be able to go 40% through a project with a technology company and then have to use a whole nother technology to go the next 40 and then a whole nother one to do 20.
That makes sense.
So I would eliminate that. Now, the problem with that is that our industry is not very big. And so you're never going to have the Googles, the Amazons, everybody else coming into this industry saying, we can fix it.
Sure.
So we're doing our very best to fix it as a small company. And I think we're on a good path.
I agree. I agree. I mean, some of the stuff, I saw the demo of where you're taking a product and you can actually drag, correct me if I'm wrong, but the demo I saw where you can drag it into CET and drop it as an item. Now you're able to do a 3D rendering from I did research on this product here on this site, and then
Yeah.
I was able to drag it into the design software. That to me is like, it's genius. I love that that's where you guys took that to the next level. Instead of just saying we're a resource here,
Yep.
like you said, we're tying the two technologies together so you can start with one and stay with one all the way through.
And I believe that that's what everybody needs to start looking at is how do we partner? How do we get through some other things to make things easier to specify, make things a vetted specification process so that we stop looking at products that are barely available here.
Sure.
Or, hey, I saw a picture of a chair that looks fantastic, but it's from Italy and it takes 17 weeks to get it here,
Yep.
if it even gets here, and specifying those types of products. So
Sure.
we're trying to bridge that gap and make things a little bit easier.
Well, it's funny, you sound exactly like every appointment that I'm at.
Yeah.
I mean, our company's name is Making Privacy Simple. So
Yeah.
like, I walk into a dealer or design firm and basically say, you can buy our stuff from other people, and I know you have and can, you
Yeah.
know? But the reason you want to buy from us is we make it simple. We take
Yes.
all these complexities of acoustics and boil it down into a really easy process to follow so your customer's happy.
Yeah.
And you get the right space. And so it's the exact same message. It's like, how do we make things easy for people? Because in the end, they can get what they need to get wherever it is. That, you know, that's the product itself is not, for us, is not so magical that they can't find a suitable alternative.
Yes.
But we can make it easy and eliminate headaches and make them enjoy what they're doing. And that's
the battle.
that seems to have a whole lot more value than we've got something less expensive or a better mousetrap than somebody else.
We talked about that at lunch too, when I said I really don't have a competitor. I really don't. I wish I did, because if I did, then I could constantly be gauging myself up against somebody else.
Oh, they came out with that neat idea. We need to figure that out.
I need to
You
do
know,
that, or
yeah.
I need to make it better.
Yeah.
I don't have that. So everything that I do is basically trial and error
right up
and
here?
based off of my ideas.
Well, and like what we talked about, you're plugged in because you
Yes.
travel a lot. You know, everybody knows you for the most part.
Yep.
And so you're going to get feedback. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
they're going to tell you what they like about your stuff and what they don't, or what they wish you had. So I'm
Yep.
sure you always have this working list of wish to have or hope for next time, or you know,
I like you say it's a list, like it's not 300 pages long.
pages and pages. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do get feedback. I'd be more than happy to allow anybody to read my emails and take that over for a day or so. We get a lot of feedback. And by the way, I reward feedback. I love getting feedback on our company because we can adjust. All the programming is done in-house. Like I do have contracted programmers that are out of out of the country. But most of our programming is done right in our office.
Wow.
So we can react to things.
Quick changes.
Quick changes. We do that every day. We evaluate our program every single day from a user standpoint, and it's getting better.
Good.
So,
Yeah. Well, you never feel like your stuff is perfect,
no.
you know. But I think it's very user friendly. It's
Thank you.
easy to find things. It's definitely way better than going into a library and trying to find a binder.
Oh, yes. Well, and I tell manufacturers all the time, we give a little bit of reporting back, which is the firms that open the binder and
Sure.
kind of what they were looking into. But the reality is, I always, when they say that's not good enough, they want leads. I always refer back to them and say, well, what did your physical binder give you? Did it send you information when they were looking at it?
Right.
Because something's better than nothing.
Exactly.
But the printing costs of those binders is just, it's ridiculous.
Yep.
So,
And then the managing the man hours to manage
Yes.
those it's definitely a savings to go with you guys. Well, and
Thank you.
I'll speak from a manufacturer's side of things. It's pretty much a requirement at this point. It's just
Yes.
one of those costs that you're like, yep, you got to be there.
Yeah.
If you're not, how in the world is, we're about to be 2020. How in the
Yeah.
world is someone in 2020 going to be able to find you
Yes.
in this industry if you're not there?
Well, we tell manufacturers, so it's funny, when we first started, there was a manufacturer that once told me, actually here in Dallas, at MetroCon, a long time ago, said, you need me more than I need you. So here's what I'm willing to pay you. And I said, you're right, I need manufacturers onto our program, so I accepted his terms. Just the other day, we sent out a price increase to a lot of the manufacturers because we've grown so much. And in order for me to grow
Saw
further,
that email, by the way.
yeah,
Yes.
in order for me to grow further, I have to charge what's right, but I kept everybody pretty much as low as I could. And so, he reached out to me and I said, by the way, you need me more than I need you. We have 90,000 people that log into my resource library every month. That's exposure that you could not get to your website if you wanted to.
You couldn't pay Google to get that.
No.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of people that are looking at you. It's all about impressions. And I think that it's been paying off really well.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So last couple questions.
Yep.
These are more personal ones.
Oh, boy.
So what's your favorite thing to do when you're not at work? And I know you're going to say it's work. You love working. You work all the time.
If you ask my wife and kids,
yes.
they'll say it's work.
So assuming that that's your number one answer, what's your next answer? What do you like to do?
The favorite thing that I like to do is actually swim in my backyard with my kids and my family.
There you go.
So it's my all-time favorite thing. If I could do that every day, I would be very happy.
Unfortunately, you live in Phoenix, so
I can't
most
do it
every day
day
that's available as long as you're home. So
yeah, exactly.
There you go.
But that is my favorite thing. I enjoy golf. I enjoy all that stuff. I do love to work, and I will work every day. But going out and floating in the pool and watching the kids have fun and being with my wife is by far the most important thing.
I hear you. Make sure we'll snip that and let them hear it. So
Yeah, send me that so that she knows
got
I'm
that.
actually saying that. Yeah, that'd be great.
And then last one, if you had all the money in the world and could just do whatever you want, what would it be?
That's a really interesting question, and it's probably shouldn't surprise you at this point. I'm doing it. I don't have all the money in the world. I'm by far not a rich person, but I am doing exactly what I love to do, and I wouldn't change a thing.
Well, that's how you know you're enjoying life.
I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
The
That's
live-work
right.
balance is a little off, but I am really fully enjoying what I'm doing because we are impacting and disrupting an industry, and I can't think of anything else I'd rather do.
I love it.
So,
Well, I really appreciate you taking some time out of your busy
Yeah.
schedule, and always good to chat with you. And I'm really excited to kind of, the more we've been talking, just to kind of see your vision for what you guys are doing. It resonates with me and with our company quite a bit. So
great. Well, you guys are a valued partner to us. We love having you be a part of it. I really want to change your binder. You know that I want
we've
to change
talked
your
about that.
binder.
Yep.
We're going to figure a way
I'll bring
to do
that
this.
back. We'll see if I can push that further. So,
But we're going to have some fun, and I love your guys' images, and I'm going to leave you with this one last thought. I wonder who's going to post about this first on social media.
ooh, we took the picture on his
On
phone.
my phone.
Crap. I think it's going to be you.
I think it's going to be me. So, but I
right.
look forward to getting this from you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.